Hello, world history. For some reason, when I don't plug my good recording system into this and just use the camera microphone, the first couple of seconds it goes. So, anyway, I don't know. Can't figure that out. But anyway, I guess it's searching for sound. All right, we are going to finish the chapter today, starting on page 413, and we're going to go through to page 418. Now, a lot of names in this, and they are names that a lot of them will be on your test. Could be open book, or it may not be. So keep that in mind. May not be open book. And I'll tell you more about that in just a moment. All right, it talks about changes or changing outlooks in European society, faith in scientific process. One of the outlooks was evolution. A guy by the name of Charles Darwin. He wrote Origin of the Species. He also wrote The Descent of Man. And basically, he said that organisms developed from simple to complex structures through natural causes, survival of the fittest, that, man had developed from animals. Now, I don't know about you, but I didn't come from a monkey. God created me in his image, or made me, fashioned me in the womb. So, but anyway, Darwin, you know a lot about him. You've talked about Darwin before, but he was in this era that we are talking about during this Industrial Revolution. Other people, a Quaker by the name of John Dalton, he proposed that each chemical element was composed of particles called atoms. You can thank him for that, John Dalton. Dmitri Mendeleev, he organized the chemical elements in a chart according to their atomic masses. You can thank him for having to memorize that in chemistry. William Röntgen, he discovered X-rays. And a guy by the name of Henry Moseley, because of X-rays, he could determine the number of protons in an atom, in the atoms of an element. So there again, scientific discoveries. Pierre and Marie Curie, they found two new elements in a type of uranium ore called pitchblende, radioactive stuff. Ernest Rutherford, he said the atom was composed of two parts. One was positive, the other was negative. And Albert Einstein, he was a big name during this time. He did relationships between matter and energy. E equals mc squared, which is energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. Go figure that one. And I don't think anyone's proven that is the case. But anyway, here's the cool thing about science during this time. A lot of discoveries that are going to benefit man are going to come about during this time period. I mean, it just is. Medicine is going to improve. Inventions are going to improve. All of these things because of the scientific discoveries and because of the scientists, no doubt. But by the same time, on the flip side, the problem is a lot of people start trusting in science as opposed to the Bible. We look to science for answers instead of looking to Scripture, and that's one thing that happened during this time period. Your book talks about challenges to Christianity. Read over that, if you will. Want to get into the arts real quick. One of the movements was realism. Realism, it was a growing awareness of the world around them, that life should be portrayed as it really is. If you're painting a woman and she looks sad, she should look sad in the painting. Don't give her a smile. Those type of things. And also in writing, one of the realists was Charles Dickens. He was a social critic. He wrote many famous books that you're aware of, but Charles Dickens was during this time. You'll see a picture of Charles Dickens in your book. Also, Thomas Hardy was a novelist and poet. He said that man was hopeless in a struggle against impersonal forces beyond his control. How depressing is that? But that was Thomas Hardy. He wrote about things of that nature. You've heard of Mark Twain's real name, Samuel Clemens. He thought the same things, that we're in a struggle against forces we can't control. But he used humor. So that's why he was a likable guy. Tolstoy, Leo Tolstoy, he talked about Russian life during the Napoleonic Wars, and you've heard of Tolstoy before. Artwork, Impressionism, that's another term that's in your book, Impressionism. It didn't want it to look like a photograph. And I will say, a lot of people don't like Impressionism. Impressionism is between Impressionism and Renaissance art. Those are my two favorite, and I love Impressionism. You see a couple of examples. You have Renoir over here on your left on page 417. On the right, you have Monet. Those were two big ones, Auguste Renoir and Claude Monet. And they were impressionists. And you see that they don't look like photographs, but they look like paintings, which I think paintings ought to look like. Rodin was also another one, Auguste Rodin. He was a sculptor in the 19th century, and he really didn't fit a style, but he was a famous one, but they didn't have a finished look to the sculptures. His famous sculpture was The Thinker. You've seen that before. Claude Debussy. Claude Debussy, he was a French guy. He was an impressionist musician. Attached with your assignment today is a musical piece by Debussy. I want you to listen to it. I like his music. It was a little different, and it was short-lived because people, when they started seeing different styles of music, it became the norm that you could change and alter things. Whereas before you had the Renaissance period or the Baroque period or the Classical period or even the Romantic period, they kind of had a format, and they stayed that way for 100 years or more. And with impressionist music, Debussy kind of showed people, hey, we can branch out, we can do what we want to do. And music was never the same after that, really, as far as classical music is concerned. Post-impressionism, they kind of wanted to go back to a more realist form. Paul Cézanne was one, and Vincent van Gogh was another post-impressionist artist. Van Gogh was Dutch, and Cézanne was French, and they emphasized universal themes to outline the figures most clearly in their painting. In fact, Cézanne talked about that you could narrow the whole universe down to some basic geometric shapes. And you'll see Still Life by Cézanne there on page 418. So that completes this chapter. It was painless, was it not? And here's what we're going to do. I told you I would mention more about this. We are either going to do one of two things on Monday. So be ready for either one. Of course, we don't have class tomorrow. It's Good Friday. Hope you'll take some time to remember that Jesus paid the ultimate sacrifice on that Good Friday for you and for me. But on Monday, we will do one of two things. A, we may review for a test and have a Zoom monitored test on Tuesday. That is the most likely possibility. But we may have a test on Monday, open book. Okay, so if we don't review on Monday, we will have an open book test. Now, that all you have to do for your assignment over the weekend is make sure you listen to the Claude Debussy song, but also read back over, not read back over, but look back over this chapter. Look at the highlighted terms where if we do have an open book test on Monday, you'll be ready. And if we review on Monday, you'll at least have an idea of what you're doing. Hey, have a great weekend. It's Easter coming up on Sunday. Rejoice, celebrate, and I will see you on Monday. Love y'all, miss you. Praying for you.